sun is shining, the breeze is blowing, and the kids are absolutely loving it as we come to you live this afternoon and welcome you to the very first instalment of Totally Immersed TV on the radio.
How's it going? We are your hosts, Luke Crouch and Paddy Butler, and we're going to be bringing you all the Hobie Sailing news you need. But for now, let's get into the good stuff and give you a rundown of what's to come before the inevitable start of the upcoming and highly anticipated sailing season.
So, on today's first instalment of Totally Immersed TV on the radio, we're going to be going into an in-depth look at the summer's main event, which we will talk about later, and whilst getting on a couple of special guests to have a yarn during the couple of our reoccurring segments that we are introducing today. But first, Luke, why are we doing this? Freestyle for me.
Well, yeah, why are we doing this? I guess just to bring awareness to, Hobie Sailing and the scene that's happening down here in Australia. I've been running a little side channel myself, Hobie Cat Days, with good content and getting a lot of response to that. And then we thought, well, why not add that further into the associations and, yeah, just a bit of a community online so everybody can keep up with what's going on and just talk about Hobie stuff, I guess, which is what we're all into, eh?
100%, mate. So pretty much this will be the official channel of Hobie Class Australia, where we basically bring you all the news about what has been happening, what's coming up, and basically all the news Hobie Sailing here in Australia and around the world. So first off on the agenda, we are going to talk about this little event, this little indie event that we're putting on here in Jervis Bay, New South Wales at the end of the year. So it's none other than the 50th Australian Hobie Cat Nationals. And it is taking place down in Jervis Bay, New South Wales, one of the premier sailing destinations in the world. So running from the 28th of December 2022 through to the 5th of January 2023, out of the Vincentia Sailing Club, it is guaranteed to be the largest regatta of the Australian summer.
Yep, and at the time of this press, there are currently 93 boats entered this historic event with a little over 5 months to go, which is still plenty of time for people to sign up. Within that number, there are already 37 Hobie 14s entered, which is huge and ready to compete. As the original off-the-beach catamaran, this is the largest gathering of Hobie 14s in Australia in over 40 years, so that's pretty awesome. And the largest in the world since 2017, Hobie 14 Worlds in the Netherlands. This is already larger than any other Australian Hobie Cat Nationals in the last 20 years and still has a lot of room to grow. As such, we are encouraged international catamaran sailors, particularly those that sail Hobie Cats or that have ever sailed Hobie Cats, to come and take part in the spectacular regatta at Jervis Bay.
So I'm actually glad that you brought that up, Luke, because like everyone else, the New South Wales Hobie Cat Association, the VSC, Vincentia Sailing Club, basically everyone sailing Hobie Cats in Australia are utterly blown away at the scale of this event and what it's actually shaping up to be. So with over 90 boats entered across 2 series and still with 5 months to go, this event is one that you cannot afford to miss. So the doctors have told us that if you do not come, you are more than likely going to be come down with a pretty serious case of FOMO. So I'd hate for anyone to come down like that, especially in today's climate. So therefore, the whole team behind the 50th Hobie Nationals is chomping at the bit to get the entry list into the triple digits sooner rather than later. So our mates at Hobie Asia Pacific are proud to announce this week that they will be placing 6 brand new Hobie Cats on the shores of Jervis Bay and will be available for charter at the 50th Hobie Nationals. So additionally, all international sailors will have first dibs on the boats, providing plenty of our mates from overseas the perfect opportunity to head south to the great southern land and spice things up for us locals. So these boats will be allocated on a snooze-you-lose basis, or in other words, first in, best dressed. So the charter boats provided by Hobie Asia Pacific will be a combination of Hobie 16s, Hobie 14s and Dragoons, with the final combination being determined by whoever locks in their charter vessel first. So there's absolutely no time to muck around. Get in contact with the team to guarantee your spot at the 50th Hobie Nationals. We'll add in all the links here. So furthermore, if you are an Australian or in the Asia Pacific region, Hobie Asia Pacific is pleased to offer all sailors the option to purchase a Hobie Cat of your choosing through the Hobie Cat dealer network. So this option will allow your boat to be built, tuned, and delivered directly to the Vincennia Sailing Club, awaiting your arrival for the 50th Hobie Nationals. Additionally, Hobie Asia Pacific will organise assistance to have your boat disassembled and prepared for freighting back home if required. So, Luke, you've been to Jervis Bay before. What's it like?
Yeah, it's probably one of the premium places I've sailed. I've been all up the East Coast over the last couple of years, but yeah, Jervis Bay, just beautiful, good company, but yeah, just a beautiful setting, and the winds are always pretty steady as well, which is always helpful. So
not too
yeah,
bad.
It's a beautiful part of the world.
So for those not aware, the location of the 50th Australian Hobie Cat Nationals is Jervis Bay, New South Wales. So that was also the location for the 20th Hobie 16 World Championships and the 2010 Hobie Australian Nationals. So, located on the southeast coast of the continent, Jervis Bay is only 2.5 hours from Sydney, with loads to offer as a very popular holiday destination. So, with wineries, breweries, and restaurants scattered down the coastline, along with pristine bushwalks, white sands, and crystal clear waters, Jervis Bay is ideal for a summer getaway with a Hobie family. Most significantly, however, is the bay itself, offering the blissful northeasterly sea breeze in the summer, known traditionally in Durga by the Wandi-Wandandian people of the Yuin Nation as Balia, along with its regular counterpart, the southeasterly Mirangama. So Jervis Bay offers undisturbed racing on one of the most spectacular sailing destinations in the southern hemisphere. Now, our hosts, the widely renowned Vincennia Sailing Club, are well accustomed to hosting Hobie regattas, playing host to multiple New South Wales state championships over the years, along with the 2002 and 2011 Hobie Cat Nationals. So the Hobie family is essentially in very good hands. With the largest fleet of Hobie 14s racing in Australia and a bunch of ex-world and national champions to throw into the mix, the locals have guaranteed a show that will go down in the Hobie archives. So, without further ado, we're going to introduce our first reoccurring segment here at Totally Immersed TV on the radio. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce our very first special guest, Meagan Bursa. Meagan, how are we going today?
I'm well. How are you?
Oh, absolutely.
Just got back from my Bali trip, so
oh, stop it.
Just had 2 weeks of holidays of the sun. It was fantastic.
Better than the rain and gloom that we've been copping down here on the East Coast, that's for sure.
I know, but sunny Alice living in the desert, we don't get any bad days here. So I've just gone from tropics to the nice sunny dry desert. It's about 25 degrees here, which is lovely.
Oh.
There's no water though, so I haven't been sailing.
No,
haven't sailed in a while, but
no, that's fair enough. We're copping a 20, 25 knot southwesterly here at the moment, which isn't too nice sailing conditions on the bay. And so we've just pretty much been.
Well, Luke's got a TV in the background with a palm tree.
Got the palm trees because it's zero knots here at Summers, and about 13 degrees, so not very nice.
Oh, how good. Anyway, let's get into it. So, segment number 1, we want to introduce this and have this as a recurring segment here on Totally Immersed TV on the radio. So, without further ado, regatta and travel tips with the Hobie family. So this segment is about members of the Hobie family giving us the best travel tips, stories, or advice from their experience, sending it around the country and the world on the tour. So the Hobie Cat Championship Tour is heading worldwide this year with the Hobie 16 World Championships, in Spain. So stay tuned for everything you need to know about travelling to your next Hobie event. Meagan, what have you got for us today?
I've got a list of different things, so I thought, you guys are more than welcome to add in or chime in at any time of any experiences that you've had or anything like that.
Oh, for sure.
In terms of travelling to events. So I've travelled to a few different events over the years. I've done Worlds, I've done Europeans, and just normal general travelling as well, which I can totally think can be applied with traveling to a regatta. But I first started with getting there. So I sort of broke it down a little bit. And the first thing I said was checking your dates of regattas, and don't forget the time zone differences. So obviously when you're traveling, making sure they give you about 2 days in registration. Days to come in and register. It's also like double checking, because sometimes it can be a bit confusing. It sort of says maybe like the regatta will start on the 17th, but that's actually registration. So you've got a bit of a 2-day leeway. And then also when you're flying, making sure that you're checking what day that you land, because sometimes, just say I'm leaving for the Worlds here, I'm leaving on the 16th, and I'll get in on the 17th because Australia is obviously so far ahead of Europe. But getting back, it's going to take me 2.5 days to get back. So I also had to consider that when I was traveling. How long is it actually going to make me take? And personal opinion, I generally like to get to my destination as quick as possible. So I usually will pay a little bit more to fly with an airline where I know that I'm not going to have a 20-hour layover. I like to just get there straight away. and no
so where's the furthest place you've been? Where's the furthest place you've been away sailing, Meagan? Yeah, like what's the longest trip you've had to take to go and race?
To go and race, probably like for one of the international events, Europe has been the furthest that I've had to travel. But I did go and visit some of the South African sailors for Christmas, end of 2014 and 2015. And I unintentionally, there was a sailing regatta on at that time, so I did a bit of sailing. But that flight to South Africa took me like 40 hours. I went via Singapore, Dubai, Johannesburg to get to Cape Town.
Oh, goodness.
And it wasn't worth it. It wasn't worth the long flight. I wish I was able to take a much quicker flight.
Pay the extra dollars and just get
but internationally for just pay the extra dollars and just which is what I've done for Spain. Unfortunately, I left that's probably another good travel tip, is don't leave your flights too late. So I unfortunately left my flights only till just last week. And it was a month ago, I was checking the flights from Alice Springs. And Alice Springs, it's a bit of an awkward place to fly from, so it's always going to be a bit more expensive. But they were $2,500. And then I went to check them 2 weeks later, and the prices had jumped up to just over $4,000. So fortunately, I was forking out quite a bit of money, and I was just shaking my head, very annoyed at myself. So also book your flights early. Don't leave them too late.
Tip number 1, check your dates. Make sure you get them right when you're booking. And
yes.
Tip number 2,
check your dates.
Book early. Get into it. Actually,
book early. Yeah. As soon as you know the dates you're going to go, book.
Book them.
Tip number 3. Tip number 3 is know your visas. I do have a very good story, actually, one that involved the Edwards, William and Lucinda Edwards at China 2016 Worlds. So China's obviously not the easiest country to get into, and I remember they were very stressed. They'd come to do the Masters and then the Opens, and luckily, very luckily, they had pre-qualified for the Opens, so that gave them a bit of leeway time. But they thought that the email, so when we came over to China, one of the ways to get your visa was that you had to have an invitation into the country. And so the people organising the Worlds over in China sent us an invitation letter, and they thought that was the visa, whereas that was what you had to attach to apply for your visa. So lo and behold, they arrive into Hong Kong, and they go through to get through to China, and they're like, that's not the visa. You don't have a visa. And they're like, no, this is our visa. And they were like, no, that's just an invitation letter to say that, like, why are you entering China? And they were telling us that they begged. And so normally with visas, with like the way, and every country's slightly different, and they were very lucky actually that they have dual citizenships. So they've got British passports as well, because if they had South African passports, because every country is slightly different, there's no way they would have let them in. Because they have British passports, they were able to get in, and they begged the Chinese government. They said, look, we're here for this sailing regatta. Can we please come in? And normally you only get like a one entry visa, and then you can't leave China and then come back in. They won't give you another visa. And so they begged. They said, please, like, we've got this regatta. So the Chinese government said, yep, okay, that's fine. You can go in, but you have to come back and get another visa. So I think, and this is going back a couple of years ago, and I'm pretty sure I've got most of the story quite right, is they got like a couple of day entry visa, like I think a 7-day entry, but Depang was 6 hours from Hong Kong.
Yeah,
so you had to travel. So they had to travel 6 hours to the event. They did part of the event, then they had to travel back to Hong Kong, exit China, and then get another visa to get back into China. So it ended up being an extra 12 hours and a few days of stress, and there was no guarantee that they were going to get back in. And very luckily, they made it back in. But I never forgot that story. I thought, check your visas. So some more travel advices that I've got is logistics of getting to your location. Obviously, sometimes it's nice to tee up with some friends to see if you guys are going to be landing at the same time and you can all get there. Sometimes public transport. Sometimes you might have to all take a taxi, but it's nicer, a bit cheaper when you can sort of all go in a car together. So the next one I've got, which I think is a good one, is travel insurance.
Ooh.
Travel insurance is a must, and coming from someone that works as an emergency and ICU nurse, right? Get your damn travel insurance, because I have seen many, many, many international travelers come through the emergency department who have not had travel insurance and have had to fork out thousands of dollars because they didn't want to pay, it's usually about $250 or something like that, depending on sort of what cover you get. Yeah. So get your travel insurance, but also make sure you read the PDS and you make sure that it covers for sailing, because generally speaking, you normally have to add like the adventure pack on to a lot of those travel insurances. They won't actually cover you if you're sailing, and you have to be sailing within a certain nautical miles to land. Because if you sail a certain distance from the land, it's classified as ocean racing, which generally speaking at Hobie regattas, we will not. I think it's about 20 nautical miles out, and we generally don't go that far out, so that's okay. But make sure that you are covered for sailing, and then also check the distance from the land. How far will they cover you, and will they cover you for racing? Because they might cover you for leisure, but they might not cover you for racing, and sometimes you have to go through like a special insurance. I thought that was a big one. Oh, yes. I've seen too many.
Read between the lines, huh?
Read between the lines, yes.
Always.
Just some other little ones. I always say pack light and pack smart, because especially if you're at a sailing regatta, you're going to have your sailing gear. You're going to be in bathers. You're going to be in your sailing gear most of the time. You don't need to pack your whole wardrobe, pack just a couple of little items here and there. We're going to spend a lot of time by the beach. So, yeah. I thought that was a good one. I thought if you're also really worried about the country that you're going to or your sailing gear not making it, personally, I would put my sailing gear in my carry-on and have it as my carry-on, because if I lose my clothes, it's fine. You can go down to your store and buy clothes until your luggage arrives. But I always actually travel with my sailing stuff in my carry-on, because I just don't want to run the risk and the stress of it being delayed. Yeah, I just don't want that stress. And it goes through, it usually beeps and they just ask you to open up, and it's just a sailing harness, that's normally, they're a bit like, what's that? And then the new Apple tags, they're great. So I got some Apple tags, which I'm yet to use actually. They didn't come in time for Bali, but you put them in your luggage.
What are they?
So you put them in your luggage, and then it pings off other people's phones to tell like your location of where an item is. So you put them in your luggage, and then it pings off other people's phones, and then it will tell you your location of your baggage. So if your bag gets lost, you'll be able to know the location.
Wow.
And I actually thought that was a good idea for anyone that was traveling with kids. You put the Apple tag, and you don't charge it for an entire year, and it's got a reusable battery, and just once a year you change the battery. You just put it in your kid's backpack, and if your kid goes missing in the airport, you can ping and find them.
That's amazing. How good is that?
Home Alone, huh?
Yeah.
That's sick.
Yeah. So I thought that was a good travel tip.
No, that's awesome. What a good idea.
Technology.
I have to put one of those in my backpack and Dad knows it.
Yeah, so check out the Apple tags.
Apple tags, get onto it.
Good talking to you all.
Yeah.
Right.
See you, Meagan.
Bye. Mwah.
Epic. Second segment here today, and this will be our second recurring segment on Totally Immersed TV on the radio. We've got Blast from the Past. So each guest will bring in a photo or a video from the bygone era, the heydays, the days of yore, to give us a yarn about what the photo or video is about and what it means to them as a Hobie sailor. Each guest will give us a brief history lesson looking at the event that took place and some of the behind-the-scenes action that they got up to back in the day. So today we've got Geoff Rowdon, Victorian local and Hobie legend in his own right. Geoff, what have you got for us today?
Well, I guess I was going to talk about probably the one of the things I did a bit crazy back in the day, back in 1992. There is a video up on YouTube. It's been there 10 years, and it's got 100,000
views or so.
It's got 100,000 views. It just clocked over. There's a number of comments there, a lot of negative stuff, a lot of positive stuff, but
that's the way of Hobie sailing, Rowdy.
Yeah, we just thought we'd go down there one day to Sandy Point down in Victoria, and see if we could sail the Hobie 16 in as much wind as we could without it breaking up. And I guess luckily it was blowing about 60 knots. But some people don't think it was 60 knots. So they said it's a lot less. So I just said, yeah, it wasn't 60 knots. It was actually 70. But anyway, there's a lot of controversy. But it was just a fun day, just heading down there with David Sylvester and a few other old-time Hobie Cat sailors back in the day. There was Brent Stacey there, Scott Leggett, and all these guys. Yeah, I'm not sure. It's just a pretty windy day, and we just ended up ripping the jib. The jib clue ended up like flapping into the window of the jib, and that punched a hole through there just from the sheer flapping of the jib block. So we couldn't really use the jib because it started to tear through the threading and everything. So we ended up taking the jib off just out of pure default, and then we just sailed under the mainsail with a reef in the sail. We didn't have a reefing lug set up, so we just tied a piece of rope from the head of the mast and set it up the right length. And then we just wrapped the extra sail around the boom and just went for a blast up and down the Sandy Point. But it wasn't really dangerous or anything. It was just a fun day in flat water. So yeah, that's just something that we did back in the day that we really enjoyed, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
And was that planned, Rowdy, or just sporadic? Like, did you guys just wake up in the morning and go, oh, we're just going to go down to Sandy Point and take her out in 60 knots?
Back in the day, we didn't even think. We didn't even have a weather forecast. No. We went down there, and the day before was, I think it was the Saturday, and there was absolutely no wind. It was as dead as it comes. There wasn't even one knot of breeze, and we didn't put any of that footage up. The video goes a lot longer. We edited it down to 10 minutes. There's actually a half an hour version. It's got the extended play version if you ever want to watch it. It shows a lot more of the things that happened. But we went down there, and there was no wind on the Saturday, and we slept the night on the sand dune with the cars, and we basically had them bogged in the sand with the water lapping up on the back of the wheels. Well, that did some crazy stuff. And then we got up in the morning, and it was freezing cold. Nobody even wanted to get out of their car. We slept in the back of our panel vans, and we got up we finally decided to rig the boat, throw the mainsail up, and there was another Hobie 16 there. He put his jib up. He thought he'd kind of tag along with us, Scott Leggett. He puts his jib up, and the wind was blowing so much it got ripped out of his hands as he was trying to hook the bottom of the jib onto the bridle wires, and the jib's flapping out off the hounds like a flag, like violently flapping out at 90 degrees off the hounds. And we had to lay the boat down to retrieve his jib. So there's a lot of funny stuff happening. I rigged my boat, blowing so hard, we tipped the boat over, just with its mast up on the sand sideways, and we turned it so the bows were facing into the breeze. No, but before that, it wasn't quite into the breeze. This massive gust came along and it blew the boat down the beach 50 metres. We had to run after the boat with the mast. The mast was digging into the sand with the wind on the trampoline, and it blew it about 50 metres down the hard sandbar, and we all chased after the boat. So we didn't quite catch it on the video.
Bloody hell.
Yeah, it was a
What
funny
year,
old one.
what year was this again, Rowdy? Was this
That's nuts.
92?
91, 92. I can't
91.
remember 91, 92, but we didn't know.
It's when
We
they're
didn't know
all
it was
as
going to
mad
be
as
windy on the
hatters.
Sunday. We just got up and the wind was absolutely honking. And we got the forecast off the bomb. We got it printed out, so it's up on the video if you want to look at it. It says it's 111 kilometres an hour of breeze, which is 60 knots. But there's still a lot of people that don't believe it. They think a Hobie should have blown up in those kind of conditions.
No, bulletproof.
Good bulletproof Hobies they are. Yeah, we snapped the rudder off. One of the rudders snapped off.
Of course you did. They weren't EPOs back then either, were they?
Yeah.
They were just white
Well,
ones,
they would have
weren't
been
they?
APO ones back then in the 90s, I'd say. Yeah, definitely.
Really?
Yeah, I'm not sure but one of the rudders ended up snapping, and then there was another spare boat there, so we grabbed his rudder for the day, and we bolted that one on in replace of our broken one, and we went out again, and did a couple of hours.
And just correct me if I'm wrong. Sandy Point's where they broke the speed record, wasn't it, for sailing
back
as
in
well?
the day
wasn't
they had
it,
that. Yeah, McKeon sailed his Yellow Pages. I'm not sure what sort of boat it was, but that's where they used to practice and try and break the speed record down there, which I think he may have held for some time 30 years ago. That's where they used to practice. So we thought we'd go down there. We didn't really go down there to really try and, I don't know, break a speed record. We just wanted to go down there and have a sail amongst that kind of where the windsurfers go. And, it's just a spur of the moment weekend.
Give it a bit of a crack, see what you can do.
Epic footage, which you can see below here in the video. So.
Rowdy, have you done anything remotely similar to that since then, do you think? Anything of the same sort of vibe or anything like it?
We did do the 40 knot we did the 40 knot session we had at Port Melbourne we went 3 up on the boat with no jib. Have you seen that one?
Yeah, I've seen that. Was that you?
Yeah, I'll put that below as well. So
and Zach, was it Zach?
Fletcher.
Zach,
Yeah, I remember that. I remember Will McKenzie, Tate Fortier, and I did the similar thing back at the combined high school sailing championships one time. It was this 35 plus westerly, and all three of us went out in the 16. I think Tate was Will was steering, Tate was working the main, and I was on the jib out on trapeze.
Yeah.
And it was just this honking westerly on Lake Macquarie, and I was the one on trapeze getting smashed, getting teabagged, sent out the back, climb back on, do it again. We're just trying to go as fast as we could. So those three up on a 16 in windy conditions, flat water, can't beat it.
No, it's so much fun. Everyone gets a job. Someone steers, someone's on the main sheet, and someone's just crewing in the middle or something. Yeah, it's quite a fun day. But we went out because the club racing was cancelled that day. So yeah, I just rigged the boat up just to go out and see what we could manage in the big wind, and it was quite comfortable with 3 on board in those conditions.
Oh, they definitely weigh it down. We'll see what we can do for the Nationals later this year. Actually, on that topic, Rowdy, what's your plan for the Nationals later this year? What are you sailing? What do you plan to do?
I'll do 2 series. I'll probably do 16 first up, and then 14 in the second series.
Epic.
Oh, I can't wait.
It's going to look pretty good. What was do you remember? I think were you top 10 for the States earlier this year?
Up in New South Wales?
Yeah, that 14 states. That's been the largest gathering of 14s.
Oh, yeah, I think I came 10th, yeah. Yeah, so I was happy with that because the first day was pretty windy and I was going really well. Then the wind dropped out, which didn't really suit the slightly heavier guys.
No.
So we dropped down the fleet a bit. So I'm hoping for, a really, really windy series at the Nationals, Series 2 especially.
4 days of nor'easters.
Oh,
that's what we're planning.
Yeah. 1
or 2 black nor'easters in the middle of it, and see if we can get a wave challenge in there.
Yeah.
1 or 2 days of it.
Yeah, it's gonna be really good. Yeah.
Put in your orders for breeze now. So thanks, Rowdy, for joining us today on our inaugural episode of Totally Immersed TV on the radio. We're looking forward to seeing you very soon at the events to come. And for everyone else, stay tuned for more info, more episodes, more installments to come. But on behalf of myself and Luke, I would like to say thank you for tuning in, and we'll be seeing you soon.